back to MVA, and I hope you're fully up to date with the different types of businesses. No matter what type of business, sole traders, limited, public, or private, the area of business is another one that needs to be considered. All business activity falls under three categories or sectors. These are primary, secondary, and tertiary. First is the primary sector. This is business activity involving the extraction of raw materials. Extraction is just a fancy way of getting the raw materials from the group. So, what do we mean by raw materials? In this case, it is anything that we can take or grow naturally from the earth. This means the main examples will include agriculture, fishing, forestry, and mining. So any farms, fish trawlers, coal mines, or oil extraction would fall under this category. Second is secondary. Shocking. This is any business activity that involves converting or changing raw materials into finished products or semi-finished products. Semi-finished products sounds quite a strange term, but it is when the product is produced only to be used to produce something else. For example, if a company produces a plane wing, it isn't much use on its own, but another business might use it to then produce the full aeroplane. This sector, therefore, includes all manufacturing, processing, and construction. Finally, the tertiary sector, which involves the provision of services in the economy. This includes transport services, leisure services, teaching is a service, along with banking, tourism, and even debt collection. Now, although we have classified business under one of the sectors, the likelihood is that businesses are interdependent. They rely on each other. Think of a crisp factory. The main ingredients, potatoes, will come from the primary sector, but then there will be manufacturing, like cutting, frying, flavoring, packaging, etc., before we then have to transport distribution so that we, the very hungry consumer, can buy our favorite salt and vinegar crisps in our local shops. The size of these sectors has changed over time and varies across different countries. Generally, less developed countries rely much more on the primary sector, more specifically agricultural goods. Developing countries like China have a very large manufacturing sector, whereas developed countries like USA, UK, and Germany, most businesses provide services. This has changed over time. Where the UK would have initially had a much larger primary sector, then with the Industrial Revolution, it had a bigger manufacturing sector. But now the size of both primary and secondary has fallen as the service sector has overtaken them. As you can see from the graphic above, for the UK, there has been a huge shift away from primary, which has fallen to 2% in 2006, while tertiary sector now takes up most of the employment at 74%. We can see that manufacturing, or the secondary sectors, actually made up more than half of employment figures in the 1900s, but by 2006 had fallen to just 15%. So why has this happened? There are quite a few reasons why manufacturing especially has fallen. One major change is the development of technology. Think about Charlie in the chocolate factory. Charlie's dad lost his job at the toothpaste factory because a machine replaced him. But that's not the only reason. Other countries can now produce things a lot cheaper than us. Brazil, China, India, and the UK is actually really good at finance and services. So as the saying goes, stick to what you know. You may have noticed a fourth sector, quaternary, that we never mentioned. Well, this is a new and growing sector, specifically referring to jobs in IT, research, and media, which are generally grouped with services. So is that the end of the changes? I would say watch this space. Our economy is constantly changing. Will the UK continue to go down the path of more services, or will it need to become more self-sufficient, at least in some areas? The likelihood is the power of globalization will continue to allow us to access more goods and services from around the world, but that is for another video. So I'm off to do some tertiary sector work. I hope this has been helpful. Bye for now.